New music. Okay, there's always new music coming out. Why is that anything exciting here? I'll tell you why, because a new album that is phenomenal just came out, and I want to talk about it. Not only is it a new album, it's a reimagining of an old album by a guy named Jay Steph, reimagined by his new artist name, Jordan Blaine. And it is incredible. Every single track was remixed, and we're going to get into that today. Hi, I'm Keaton Williamson, and I'm the host of this YouTube channel slash podcast called Songsmith. It's a little fun corner of the internet where we talk about songwriting, music, and, try and get connected with other songwriters to help share our stuff. The point of the show, channel, and everything is just to get connected with one another and hopefully bounce ideas off one another so that we can grow as songwriters. So why would you care about this new album, this new remixed album by Jordan Blaine, aside from the fact that I think it sounds cool? Well, first off, it's just that. It sounds cool. It's a cool album with tons of great music and just, it's really original. It's a really original idea because I don't see artists putting out entire revamped versions of their old albums. So that was fun and awesome to listen to. But I think what they did with each song made it extremely unique, and how he tied different, artists and people remixing the songs, but also their vocals, or even having them rewrite or write in new parts to some of those songs. So today we're going to break down and talk about each of those songs that are out now. All of them are out now, and why I enjoy them and what I think was a really strong point for each of them. First, let me try and get my TV to work so I can pull up the songs and not have to stop the video to look through them. Voila, there we go. Now to pull up the music. So the original album he released, which was, I think, last year? Yeah, last year. He released the album MMXXII, or 2022, in the year 2022. Wait a minute, that would have been 2 years ago. Anyway, 2 years ago, in 2022, he released this album called 2022, and it was his debut album, Jay Steph's debut album. And he'd been releasing singles and stuff like that. He'd done a couple small EPs with different artists, but this was his first full-blown album, and it was great. I had a ton of fun songs. It really explored heartbreak and breakup because that was something he was processing in these songs. And some of the title tracks or whatever are, let's see, we've got The Year I've Waited For, which is kind of like talking about how it's going to be a great year. He's super excited. He feels something in the air. Something's coming. Moves on to something like Bound to Break or Already Gone, which are songs about him talking about, I just lost the person that I thought was going to be like my forever, that they were the center of my life. And then it kind of moves into a more, change of perspective where it goes to like, let's see, Do It Afraid. It talks about how he's scared because he just moved to Nashville and doesn't exactly know what life holds, and just continues moving on, processing emotions. And it ends with Ride of My Life, which is a song that he wrote in collaboration with Sam Bowman, who produced the entire album because he's not a producer himself. So yeah, great song. It really follows a great story if you listen to the whole thing from top to bottom. And amazing music, different types of music, different styles. I think one of my top three is definitely In the Midst because it feels more like that Christian modern worship type of song. I mean, I have a lot of things that I don't like about modern worship, but it feels more of that like CCM style, hit meets EDM, and it's really good. It's got a great message too. That being said, I don't know how long it's been since this was announced, but a while back he announced that he's going to be reimagining the entire album under a new artist named Jordan Blaine. He, for Jay Steph, had been focusing on the idea, or a lot of more collaborations or whatnot, and he's wanting to move to a more independent, like releasing music as himself, just him, with like the exception of a ghost producer or something. And that was what he's going to do. However, he is now released an entire reimagined version of 2022, and it's great. He brought on tons of friends of his, from Matthew Parker to Ike Smith, Christian Singleton, Ben Lawrence, Cole Tagg, so many more amazing artists, both in the vocal side of things as well as the production. Like I said earlier, the original album was entirely produced by Sam Bowman, and he's worked with Sam on a couple other songs, but this was an entire project that he was like, hey Sam, let's work together and produce this whole thing. Obviously it was a paid gig or whatever, and he had a fundraiser for that a while back. But Sam did some remixes on some of these songs for artists that weren't production guys. They didn't produce music, they just did vocals and songwriting similar to Jordan. And he hit it out of the park. I don't remember all the songs that Sam redid. obviously there's a song, well, not obviously, but there's a song on this album, the redone version, called Sam Bowman version, because each of them are not labeled as remixes. They're labeled as blank artist name version, like Ben Lawrence version, Christian Singleton version, etc., etc. The only song that's on the original album that's not on this one is 2022 or MMXXII. And the reason is that's like an intro track. And I mean, sure, you could remix it and that might have been interesting, but it really fit the vibe of like the consistent sound and story of the original one, where the reimagined version of the album sounds a lot different. And it was already done with Sam. It had minimal words, that kind of thing. So that's not included on the reimagined version. However, I think that a lot of songs and a lot of effort went into all of this, so it's not like that's a big deal. It's not even a long track. It's just an interesting, like, let you into the song or album. You know what I mean. Jordan Blaine, or when I first kind of came into him as Jay Steph, has quickly risen to one of my favorite artists. And, I mean, the reason I enjoy his, like, there's different artists I listen to that have, like, Christian perspective on thing, or, like, you know, Sam, for instance, does a lot of songs where he takes something and puts it through the Christian perspective, or even does like some really interesting storytelling with things like Garden King, where he talks about King Nebuchadnezzar. But Jordan Blaine doesn't talk about God all that much in his songs in the grand scheme of things. You can definitely see that like consistent thread through it all, but that's not the main point. A lot of times he's processing emotion like heartbreak, anxiety, depression, things like that. It's just really good music. Because, again, he still puts it through a Christian's perspective as to how he looks at these things. But there's also some songs where it's just like, it hurts. That's the entire message of the song. A lot of times there's some songs where it's just like, it hurts, the end. Like, he fully explains that at that moment, he can't feel anything other than pain, depression, anxiety, whatever is going on. And a lot of times that is, like, extremely relatable. Because though we kind of know that God's there, we don't feel that he's there, and sometimes it's just like, this hurts and I don't see anything. Now, there are also a lot of tracks in there where it's like, it hurts, like In the Midst, I'll keep trusting you in the midst of it. And he goes on to talk about pain in the verses, and the chorus is all about how I'll trust you through all of that. Some of the first times I heard of Jay Steph's music, turned Jordan Blaine now, was probably through Xander. He'd done a couple songs with him, and Young Pop Renegades. If you haven't heard Young Pop Renegades, the 2021, as well as Young Pop Renegades Volume 2, those are amazing albums. They're collaborations, and the last tracks on both of them have somewhere between like 11 and 13 on each of the songs, the final songs. Nobody and Thank You. I think those are the titles of both those. But yeah, great tracks, and he was in on that project. It was something started by Matthew Parker. Either way, I'd heard about him somewhat on and off, but then I was hearing more about it from Sam as he was sharing things that Jay Stuff was putting out on Instagram because he was working on this album, as well as I'd been following him on Instagram, so I was seeing him ramp up for this project. And I listened to the songs, and I thought they were really good, and that's really when I started to get hooked. When I was listening to 2022, that's when I got hooked on his music. Since then, he's probably a top 3 artist for me. I mean, Sam is definitely like number 1, then Jordan Blaine, then Xander Salas, which I've talked about in some podcast episodes. And yeah, I love the music. It's really good. But to stop rambling, let me get into the actual album, the reimagined album. So the entire album, or almost all of the album, was released in singles every week, starting at like the beginning of the year, a couple weeks after the beginning of the year, up until last week when the whole album dropped. And the first song on the album, which is also the same on the original, is The Year I've Waited For, Hibdanian version. I think that's how you say the name. And, I mean, it's a remix of the original song, The Year I've Waited For. The first track, The Year I've Waited For, as well as Be This Way, which is Matthias Rue's version. Again, if I pronounce that wrong, I'm sorry. I don't know how to say some of these names. But either way, they sound very similar, I would say, to the original tracks, but have a unique twist on it. Like, the first one is a little bit more like, how do I describe it? Like, bouncy? No, that's not the right word. It's just a little bit more upbeat, which is kind of hard to top in the way it sounds on Sam's version. But I think it's got more consistent noise or music going, whereas it's kind of like chill until the the chorus of the song. But yeah, still a great remix. Track number 2, Be This Way, is, how do I describe it? The song is already kind of like a sadder song where he's talking about basically why his significant other was acting the way she did. That's what I understand of the song, and it's got more of a like gritty sound to it because in the chorus when he's singing why's it got to be this way knowing you won't ever change, it's his voice is pitched down and stuff so it doesn't sound exactly like his voice, and it stays that way in this new version, but it's got more grit and like, again, I'm bad at describing certain elements of music. If you've listened to, there's a song on Sam Bowman's album Ghost that I believe he remixed, and it's got a very similar sound, so I really enjoyed that. Correction, it's not on Ghost, it's on the Phantoms and of Fire remixes of songs from Ghost and Children of the Burning Heart that he remixed the song on there, and it's got a similar sound. It was Let All Mortal Flesh Keep Silent that Matthias Ruse remixed on that. Moving into track 3, it's a song called Bound to Break, Maggie Young's version. And Maggie Young's is a smaller artist. She doesn't have a whole lot of listeners, but she does do a lot of writing with other artists in Nashville and whatnot, which is how Jordan Blaine has worked with her. And she was on this song. So Bound to Break is already kind of like a chiller song, basically talking about how Jordan Blaine, sees that this relationship he's in is not going great. It's not like awful, it's just the connection there between the two of them is not great, and he's afraid that this thing he's been building up, everything he's been holding on to, that as well as like his dreams and ambitions, it's all bound to break. He's wondering if that's what this road is headed on. And it takes that up and like knocks it to a whole new level of music. And it's just like, it starts with like one piano key, dun, 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 dun. That's not the note it is, but you know, going over and over again. And adds a couple small elements, but it's a very minimalistic song. It's kind of like a blanket fort version, like other things that Sam has done, because he remixed the album. Or I mean, sorry, he remixed this song. I'm going to keep saying that wrong so many times in this video. But it's very stripped back and kind of draws out the emotion even more from what the song is trying to say. Another song on here that I really, really, really liked was Already Gone, Ben Lawrence version. Ben Lawrence and Jordan are both really good friends in real life, as well have worked together on a couple different things. I forget what the EP's name was, but they did an EP together with like 3 or 4 songs. I think it was only 3. Ben Lawrence, he is a producer, so he remixed the album. He remixed the song, not the album. And in this, it honestly stays very similar to the original for a while. I mean, there's differences, obviously. But when it gets to like the near end, like last chorus, that's when things are ramped up to this emotional, kind of epic sounding, almost cinematic. It was really good. I enjoyed it. And Ben Lawrence also threw in some new, unique lines that weren't in the original song. So that was also a fun twist on the original thing. Same message, but, you know, slightly different wording. Especially, it's nice when new artists come onto a song, as long as the original artist is okay with it and wants it. Having them put their own twist on the lyrics that kind of adds new life and new perspective to it. Now for one of my favorite songs from the original album, In the Midst, Christian Singleton version. So In the Midst is a kind of almost worship-esque song / CCM song. It starts with, I've stood on mountaintops, flown higher than astronauts. You've always been so good. Nothing more than I could want. Basically, God has been so good to him. But then, lately things have changed. I've watched the sunlight fade. The world is growing colder, and I'm slowly losing faith. And he's basically asking, God, if you're still here, will you see me through? And saying that this whole situation he's gotten into, the whole breakup and heartbreak, it hurts. And he's basically questioning and being like, God, if you're still here, are you going to hold me through all of this? And at the very end, the tag of the song is, but I'll keep trusting you in the midst of it. Amazing song, amazing message. And Christian Singleton, who was a person in his Instagram stories and whatnot he was saying he wanted to work with for a while, just hadn't had the chance to, was a really good addition to the song. This one is also very stripped back. It's very bare bones, and it's more of an emotional type of version. Christian Singleton has a very light and like ethereal type of voice, and she added a great new sound to the song. Now for probably my like probably my favorite remix from this album, Do It Afraid, Coltag version. On Instagram and also on YouTube Shorts, you may have seen a video or short that I put out a couple weeks back when this song dropped called Thoughts with Keaton. And basically, I just talked about the song because I thought it was really good. And I was like, I want this to be more than just a story. So I did that. The song is so much fun. It's got the original song is like, you know, kind of energetic, but not extremely energetic. Whereas this, like, super fun. It's got this movement. You know, if like you're on a guitar and you're like, it almost feels like you're moving, like the song is moving, physically moving forward. That's what you have through the entirety of this song. So it's like you're going forward. Because the whole message of the song is that even though a thing is hurt and I don't understand what's going to go on and I don't understand everything that God has for me yet, I'm still going to do it afraid. I'm going to trust you regardless. And that's the whole idea of the song. It's a ton of fun. Again, great message. And Cold Take added such a fun twist to this. I'm completely spacing if he did the remix or Sam did. I think it was Sam Bowman. Yes, I'm pretty sure it was Sam. But this new take on the song is just so much fun. And Cold Take has a very high voice. Honestly, seeing him, you wouldn't think he has a high voice. He almost looks like he'd be a country singer or something with the beard and everything. But his voice on this song, so good. And then Phoebe Scott was another musician, artist that they had dropped her vocals in near the very end of the song and also added a nice touch as it goes into the final chorus. Overall, a great, energetic, fun, moving song that if you only check out one song from this album, I might say to check out this one. This one is a lot of fun. At the beginning of releasing all the songs, he put out a post that said he was going to be doing this reimagining project. And on each of them, it said the song title, and then like 1 or 2 letters of the artist's name with the rest in blank, and then version. I think it said version at the end. And one of those, it said the date next to each release too. And one of them, the first letter was a G. And I was like, I wonder who that's going to be. Give it a couple weeks, and he puts out in his stories, anybody can guess who my next artist is going to be? Because he normally announced it a couple days prior to the song releasing. So it probably was a week before the song was going to release that he's asking this in the Instagram stories. I looked back at the post again and I was like, I read through the letter count and read through the letter count of who I thought it was, Gladden. And I was like, hey, I think it might be Gladden, and here's why. And he's like, there's a lot of artists with that name or that first letter and the same amount of spots, but we'll see. And lo and behold, when the song comes out, that is exactly who the artist is. And it is great. I love this. This is probably number 2 of all the remixes on the album. The song is called I'm So Happy That We Broke Up. And it's basically, at this point, he's come to terms that the breakup happened. And even though he's sad that it happened, it was still probably for the better. In fact, it was for the better. He knew that the relationship wasn't working out and that in the end, it is better that they broke up. And Gladden's voice, he's like belting out the lyrics. That's not the right terms. But like, not screaming, but you know what I mean? If you've listened to him, you will know exactly what I mean. And the way his voice sounds on this is amazing. And at the end of the song, Gladden is honestly the main vocal in this song. He kind of replaces Jordan for all but the first verse and chorus. And at the end, instead of it being, I'm so happy that we broke up, it says, I'm still happy that we broke up, which was a change that they made to the song that is honestly really fun. And it's almost like the original song came out, and it's like, I'm so happy we broke up. Later, my emotions haven't changed. I'm still so happy we broke up. It's for the better. Another song that kind of hits you in the feels, if you want to say it that way, is Snow in June, Taryn Fairchild version. This like flips the sound of the original song on its head. The original one was like really fun, upbeat, like da 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 da. That might have been cringy, but hey, who cares? I mean, how many people are going to watch this video anyway? But besides, anyway, it goes like complete opposite, where it's very like the beginning of the song is a pitched down version of his vocal going, "You're as beautiful as snow in June, 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 June," which is like, it sounds better when it's being sung. And then it goes into very like piano heavy, very minimalistic sound. And it's just very very nice to listen to. It's one of those songs that you kind of want to just like, when it's dark outside, just sit in your room with like some chill lighting and listen to. I think if you enjoy listening to music, you probably know what I'm talking about. So yeah, another great remix. Next we have It's My Fault, Ike Smith version. This was one of the songs that came out with the album. It didn't have an individual release. This came out with like 3 or 4 other songs that weren't released individually. They came out with the reimagined album. And yeah, it's really good. Ike Smith is definitely a smaller artist, a smaller remixer, and he put his vocals on this as well. So the song originally had Jordan Blaine and I don't know how to say that name. Artist name is all caps LVRDR. If you have an idea of how to say that, cool. I think it's like basically taking a name and then smooshing it down without any of the syllables. But regardless, she was on this song and has a great sound to it and whatnot. Ike Smith, as he normally does with his remixes, really leaned into that EDM side of things. And it has a fun, like, electric sound to it and cool beat drop and everything in that. So yeah, fun to listen to, cool stuff. I actually only listened to this one for the first time, as of the time of recording this, like 30, 45 minutes ago, something like that. I don't know exactly how long it's been. I'd listened to a lot of it, but then I had to go counsel at a spring minicamp for a camp near our house, and that was a lot of fun, but I wasn't able to finish listening to the whole album the day it came out. Another song on this album, which was the first one to release of any of them, is Picture Perfect People by Matthew Parker, or Picture Perfect People, Matthew Parker version. That's a tongue twister. The idea of Picture Perfect People as a song is that basically, and a lot of us can relate to this, that you go on your phone, you scroll through Instagram, you scroll through Facebook, YouTube, and you see all these people that have the picture perfect life. Just everything seems to be working out for them because, you know, social media and stuff seems to be a highlight reel of everybody. Because, I mean, that's kind of what it's become. It's drifted away from like the connection side of things to being like showcasing things and all of that. The first few words of the chorus are, "All I see on my screen are these picture perfect people, living dreams that I want for me. Is it really how it should be though?" And basically processing the emotions of seeing everybody online living these picture perfect lives, when in reality, there's so much behind that camera that you never see, because nobody posts all the bad stuff that happens in their life. I mean, they might ask for support, but most of the time, you're sharing the things that are interesting and exciting. And even though we know that, it can be depressing to look at all these things and then know everything that happens in our life, where we only know the good things that have happened to them, and be like, how can I live up to that? I want that kind of life. Matthew Parker took the song from not EDM, it was already like, I'm horrible at describing genres. It has a cool beat drop in it near the end, but it's just, you know, slightly electronic. But Matthew Parker took it all the way with electronic because that's his style. And I love the reimagining. I think I like the original better than this version, but it's kind of more of like the situation. Do I want like a more chill sounding song, or do I want it to be more upbeat and more electronic at the moment when I'm listening? The next song is called Live For You, Sam Bowman version. And as I've said before, Sam Bowman was the one who produced the entirety of this album. And he did a great job. And of course, he remixed this song since it's his version. At first, it's very like country. I don't want to say country, but it's got like the twangy guitar picking at first. But then it just like halfway through the song switches genres entirely into an electronic song. And I don't know why, but I loved it. Overall, I think he just did an amazing job taking this song. Honestly, he did it with a lot of songs, taking what he originally produced and redoing it into a new version, sometimes very different from the original. He also had his own verses on the song that he wrote, and I think they add a whole nice layer of context. He normally goes for the more like explicitly Christian verses when he writes new verses into songs, and what he did with it I think was really, really good. Now, if I'm not mistaken, for the first song on the album, at least the first of them that were released individually, that doesn't have another singer on the song. It's called Ride of My Life, Nitro X version, and if you don't know, you should know by now. Honestly, you probably don't know, but hey, I'm going to make sure you do know. Nitro X, or Owen Bloomfield, is a Canadian producer based out of Canada. He's 17 or 18 now, and he does some great, great remixes and just productions in general. He's worked with Jordan Blaine, J Steph, under the J Steph artist name, several times and made some really, really good songs. Dare I say, bangers. And these songs are great, and this new one is no exception. The beat drop on Ride of My Life is amazing. It was already one of my favorite songs that Sam had done, but it's all out like EDM, electronic, exactly up Nitro X's alley. And, it just full blown, the beat drop is just like you want to bang your head to it the whole time. It's just so good. You definitely should listen to that one as well. I mean, you should listen to the whole thing, but you should definitely listen to that one. I just realized I accidentally lied at the beginning of this video. This reimagined album has more tracks, only one more, than the original album. And the reason being is that there are two songs that got two remixes on the album. The first one is Already Gone, which he already did a version with Ben Lawrence. I'm going to venture to say that this one is the most different from any of the other songs on the album, or at least from its original version on the original album, because, first off, almost the entirety of the song, his voice is pitched up, so it's kind of this high-sounding voice. Not like a high singer, but more like auto-tune electronic. That, again, might be a bad example, but if you listen, you'll understand. A lot of it is music-related, where the lyrics are used more sparingly, and I don't think all of the lyrics are used, or if they are, it's spread out a lot more than it normally would be. It's Already Gone, Ad Beal version. Again, he's just a producer, I believe, on the song. He didn't do any vocals of his own. But a fun, original version. It almost feels like kind of background. Like, it's not a song you're going to sit and listen to, but it's like nice ambient music. Not in the sense of like ambient sounding music, but it's just like a great vibe setter, maybe, And for the final track on the album, it is Snow in June, the second version on here. Havida version? Maybe. Havida version? We're working on name pronunciation because I am not good at that. Haha. Anyway, ignore that laugh just a second ago. This one is kind of like a plucky guitar, not plucky, but like dun 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 kind of thing, and it's another really fun one. It leans into that electronic side of things, and it stays more close to the original feel of the original song, where it's more of an upbeat-ish version of the song. It doesn't sound anything like the original one. Unlike the Taryn Fairchild version, this one does not have like a sad, somber feel to it. It definitely has energy to it. So that was cool. That's fun. So I know I did some broad strokes as just my opinions of the songs, and even then it wasn't super detailed or like, this many stars for this song, or this many stars for this song. But that gives you a general idea, especially related to its original version, how the songs were done and what he did with them. And yeah, it is a great album. Overall, I think he nailed it out of the park. Obviously, a lot of this was the work of other people, so I want to shout out all those people I already mentioned from, Nitro X, Sam Bowman on a lot of them, Matthew Parker, and so many more that put in a lot of effort into remixing these songs. I think this is a great kickstart for his new Jordan Blaine project, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do for his future songs, where it's going to be more just him, and also what artists he might work with for, vocally, songwriting-wise, and of course the production, since, again, he's not doing really any production of his own. I don't know if he does anything with it, if he does, like, some simple stuff, because he plays a few different instruments, but for the most part, he hands off the production, from what I understand, to other producers. If you want to see more videos like this, or an actual video where I, rate 5 different songs by stars, maybe lyrical content, what I think of it, music-wise, all of that, let me know in the comments below this video. And, I might get some of those videos rolling. And you can also check out some of my other stuff that are up on the channel. I think I should have a video right here, which is The Life of a Songwriter. It's a short video, part of a new series I'm starting. And right here is a video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy listening to, or watching. It might be a podcast episode, it might be a video. So yeah, check those out. I'll see you in the next one.